For more on the situation on the ground in Nigeria, I'm now joined by Sampson Kwakye via Skype from the capital Abuja. He is a researcher with the Institute for Security Studies. Sampson, good evening and thank you so much for joining us on the Globe. Now, you're on the ground in Nigeria. Take us through what the general mood is like ahead of tomorrow's election.
Well, good evening. Based on past experience, the general mood is one of uncertainty and some level of anxiety, especially considering that the presidential election has been closely contested. There has been some heated exchanges between the candidates. There has been accusations and counter-accusations. Now there are questions as to what will happen in the aftermath of the elections and how would the losing side respond. So Nigerians generally a bit uncertain and have some anxiety going into this election, but at the same time they are hoping that they go through this as peacefully as possible.
Now, there have been reports of violence in some areas following the attacks by Boko Haram. What's the security situation like as we speak? Can Nigerians cast their votes freely without fearing for their lives?
Following the attacks, there are obviously deep concerns about the potential for disruptions of the elections, especially in areas where Boko Haram is present in the northeast. There are also concerns about potential disruptions by political thugs and criminal gangs who obviously offer their services to politicians in election periods. Recently, the National Security Advisor announced that the government had uncovered plans by politicians to stock up arms and also hire thugs to sort of disrupt the elections. And so the potential for violence is real, obviously, but the security agencies led by the police have deployed quite a large number of officers around the country. It remains to be seen what will happen on election day. But obviously, there's some worry about violence.
Now, Sampson, we've seen losers in other African countries in recent times contesting the elections and resulting in seeing candidates going to court and waiting for the court to make final decisions on voting and elections that have taken place. What are we likely to see in Nigeria? Are the candidates going to walk away once the results have come through? And are they going to accept the results and take Nigeria forward?
Well, the candidates have signed peace accords in recent days, pledging to accept the outcome of the elections. Of course, it remains to be seen whether this will be honored or not. In the past, this was the case. Candidates indeed signed peace accords, but then we saw that in the case of the incumbent, he went to court challenging the results. And so peace accords have been signed, pledges or commitments have been made, but then as to whether or not this will be honored, I think it remains to be seen after the elections. Of course, none of the candidates would want to be seen as being intransigent or standing in the way of peace. And so it should be interesting going forward.
Now, Sampson, what kind of changes are we likely to see taking place in Nigeria with whichever leadership or government comes into play and ensuring that the poverty levels in Nigeria are dealt with, job creation for the youth and the unemployed and, dealing with the economic challenges that the most populous nation is facing on the continent? What sort of changes should the Nigerians be looking forward to and the people on the African continent?
Well, obviously, both candidates have talked about, having programs to revive, to promote economic growth and development. The PDP candidate has talked about private sector led economic growth and development, and so should he be elected, I think we are likely to see a much more stronger emphasis on the private sector. The incumbent, of course, has also emphasized, basically continuing the path that he's been on. But also he has been talking about, some sort of public-private partnership. And so on both sides, there has been some emphasis on, private sector-led economic growth and development. And so I see that as being the way to go in the next 4 years.
Sampson, something to look forward to tomorrow, elections taking place, and all the best for the elections process tomorrow. That was Sampson Kwakye, researcher at the Institute for Security Studies, speaking to us from Abuja in Nigeria.